Welcome to Scoop World Order. It is Wednesday. We are grinding along. Camp 2 days in a row. Another one-day camp is in the books for Ohio State. Some similar faces were back. Ian Moore was back getting some working with Justin Fry. We got all the buzz. Joe Drain was there. He did a fantastic job covering the camp. We're going to give you all the latest on what happened. Team is working out. They are grinding along. They're in OTAs right now, which is kind of like practices. They run through some plays. They block trash cans and dummies and that kind of thing to go through their assignments, which I think is fantastic. This is something that did not exist 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's a new advent to college football. It is something that I think is really beneficial for players. They can get the playbook down before they put the pads down in August. We're going to break that down a little bit and just talk about the trajectory of the team and a little bit of Elite 11, because that's out in Manhattan Beach, California, home of Nevada Buck. He's going to have some eyes on it. They had check-in day today, so nothing went on today, but next few days, we're going to have some really good reports on that from Nevada. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you guys. As always, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and if you enjoy our live shows, put on that alert bell so that it rings every time we go live, and we will really bring you the heat. Appreciate your questions as always. And also shout out where you're from. Where you guys watching from? Naples, Florida, always in the house, my hometown. I love it. Massillon, Canton, Ohio, Columbus. We've had Kentucky, Texas, California, Israel. I mean, we've had people everywhere. So it's crazy. We appreciate that as always. So shout out where you're from in the comments. Love seeing where you guys are watching from. And we appreciate you guys every single night. With that being said, I'm working to bring in my good friend, Nevada Buck. Nevada, how are you tonight?
Good. Happy Elite 11 Eve to you as we're getting ready for the great gathering of the best 11/19 quarterbacks in the country. And right here in my hometown of Manhattan Beach, California, the famous Miracosta High School, home of the Mustangs. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Aaron Nolan. Aaron Nolan right now, with all the despair about, we didn't get Jaden Davis, and we had to settle for Aaron Nolan. Aaron Nolan's probably going to end up higher rated than Jaden Davis when everything's said and done. When all the dust settles, I really believe we got the better guy, and I think it's going to be shown here at the Elite 11/19 as well. So can't wait to see them side by side.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think his trajectory is sky high. His infrastructure, his Georgia high school team is an absolute force of nature. Undefeated last year, state champions. He was like 55-3 or some crazy numbers for 55 touchdowns, like 3 or 4 interceptions, threw for like 5,000 yards. They scored like almost 1 million points last year. It broke the Georgia State record. Just an incredible thing. So, he's going to be a year older. He's going to be a senior. I'm sure, honestly, he'll be a lot more relaxed this year because he kind of knows where he's going. Last year, you're fighting for offers. You're trying to build and scratch a call. But when you're committed to Ohio State, you can go into your senior year knowing that you know where your home is going to be. You're going to the number one spot in the country for quarterback success in Ohio State. Like, you could sleep like a baby. You could really focus on just doing your job, playing for your teammates. I think Aaron's going to have a fantastic year. And honestly, Jaden Davis, a very good player, a guy that we really wanted. But, in Michigan, obviously they've beaten us the last 2 years. But if I'm a quarterback, man, the only place in the universe I want to go next year is Ohio State, because you've got J.J. Smith coming, you've got Ennis, you've got Tate, you've got monsters on monsters on monsters. Ryan Day calling the plays, Heartline developing the receivers. It's just like an absolute catapult into the NFL draft within 3 years of you entering Ohio State's infrastructure. So again, I love the trajectory of Aaron Nolan. Everything I've been told about him is he's an absolute grinder. He's a kid that's a great kid. I think he's raw. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think he's when I met him in Naples, he was an absolute freak. I mean, he a big, strong kid, a kid that's put in a lot of work in the weight room. And I love kids like that. I think kids that are physically developed and matured shows that they've got the dedication to be great. And you start throwing some J.J. Smith out on the field and Ennis and Tate, it's the sky's the limit for a kid like that. Nevada, we're about halfway through camp season. Ian Moore showed up again today to work with Justin Fry. We had Demarion Witten from Glenville there. The camps have been pretty good talent-wise. Seeing Ian Moore show up for a second time, I think it kind of it harkens back to Will Smith Jr. getting a bunch of days in a row of coaching from Larry Johnson. Now, obviously, Ian is from Indiana. What do you make of Ian Moore having a second day at camp with Justin Fry. He did the one-on-ones, did all the competitive stuff, which not all the kids normally do. But what do you make of that? Because I low-key kind of love that.
Well, I think it's a topic that you haven't seen, trending on a lot of boards or haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. And I think it's like one of the most telling facts about the kid. This is a kid who clearly wants to get better, clearly is trying to get as much coaching as he can. I mean, you're talking about a kid that's rated by Rivals as the number one offensive tackle in the country, Ohio State commit, and comes in from Indiana last week for camp, comes in from Indiana this week for camp. I mean, that's a commitment. That is there's a million things he could be doing different other than going to camp, and he's coming to camp to try to get better. And I love kids like that. I think kids like that are the ones that succeed. And no, when I heard that he was coming and saw him coming back to back, I just like, wow, man, this is a special kid, and Ohio State's lucky to have him, and I can't wait to see him on the field in the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss this film on as we talk about him. Again. I made this point on the board. I think that, people, they're always obsessed with, you got to get the 5 stars, you got to get the best guys. And I agree with that. Obviously, you want to get the best players in the country, but I think it's much harder now to evaluate the ceiling of kids, to evaluate how good they possibly can be because of the rules and restrictions that are put on high school coaches. I think that Ian Moore benefits because he has Kyle Ralph as his high school coach. Kyle Ralph was a great Ohio born offensive lineman, played at North Carolina for the Tar Heels a year or two. I think he's a year older than I was, but that's the guy that he knows O-line. When you see Ian in the drills, you can tell he's been coached really well. He's got great technique. He's got a lot of upside. He's in really good shape. I mean, he's a guy that he puts in the work in the weight room. Again, I think when your head coach at your high school is a D1 offensive lineman, I think that's just a gigantic help, but it's really hard to coach offensive line and tackling in modern football with the restrictions that are from high school coaches. I really got kind of into high school coaching. My best friend's kid is a baseball player at Tennessee now, Ryan Miller, and he was a quarterback at Dublin Jerome. And I asked him, and he played both ways, played safety, played quarterback. It's like, how often do you guys hit and how often do you guys get to bang and scrimmage and all that? And it was like very, very, very limited. It was, a couple days a week, limited contact. Like you could only have contact on so many practices during the summer or the August training camp session. So again, it deteriorates the overall quality of offensive line play when you can't hit. You can't, again, if you're coaching a basketball team and OSHA or any high school organization said, hey, you're not allowed to shoot because the kid's shoulders are getting too worn out or something, and it limited the amount of shooting you get to do, all of a sudden you see the free throw and 3-point and field goal percentages drop precipitously. And that's what happens in modern football. And again, it happens in college, it happens in the NFL. Every level of football is limiting how much contact is allowed to have, how many days of contact, how many 2 days. Again, I'm not that old, but 20 years ago when I was a freshman at Ohio State, we had 2 days every single day at practice. And, we had like maybe one a day a week. And now there's no 2 a days. So it's like literally you cut the number of practices in half. And there weren't limits on contact back then. So we had really physical practices twice a day. And again, I think that helps the overall quality. Now, the flip of it is that I think kids now in all sports are just more athletic and more skilled than they've ever been. You go back and look 20 years ago to today's NFL. I think the skill guys are more skilled. I think the linemen are more fit. They're in better shape, better sports science, better training, better diet habits. Diet is more of a thing now than it's ever been. It was never a thing 20 years ago. But I think it's just interesting because everyone's like, well, we got to have only 5-star linemen and only high 4-star. And I'm like, guys, like, you really don't know who's going to be what, because a lot of these kids haven't been coached or they're not allowed to be coached to their potential. Outside of guys like Laramie Tunsil, who are just locked 5-star. Like, when I watched his high school film, I was like, that guy's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft in 3 years. And he ended up being like the 8th pick in the draft. Probably should have been the number 1 pick in that draft, but there's just not many guys that are like that. So a kid like Ian Moore, you watch his film, he looks good here. When Justin Fry and Mickey Marotti get a hold of him and he really gets dialed in, who knows how good that kid could be? I mean, that kid could easily be a 1st-round pick, and his body, his skill set, his mindset seem to all match up with what you want in a great lineman. And the fact that he's back for day 2 of camp is pretty incredible. Nevada, do you my little diatribe on contact and the how things have kind of degraded along the lines. Do you see that? Do you agree with that? Is that something that, like, as a casual fan, you notice the way that I notice it?
Well, look, I put that in combination with other things. Let's talk about Ohio high school football just in particular. And you've got Ohio high school football that doesn't have spring football. You're already putting yourself behind the eight ball in terms of that. You've got limited contact, some other issues there. And what's the net result been? I mean, Ohio high school football's been down. I mean, it used to be like the elite of the elite. It was Ohio and Texas and Florida, and then kind of everybody else, or in California. Um, now you've got states like Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana. Other states that are kind of catching up, or even I wouldn't say surpassing Ohio, but maybe they are. And you just wonder, how's that's going to change. I mean, it's not all just demographics. Some of this is a choice. Some of this is, things that they're doing in Ohio or not doing in Ohio that they're doing in these other states. So, for Ohio State, I think that, it's all the more reason why, they've got to get the best players in Ohio, but they've got to remain that national brand so they can get the best players from all over the country. Because, if you're not allowing the players to be the best that they can be, and that means getting them the maximum amount of practice, the amount of skill work, the amount of contact that they can possibly have, then Ohio football is always going to lag some of these other states that do that, and I think that's a big issue for Ohio State going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, we do some spring practice days and some showcases now, but they're not in pads. Again, nothing replaces padded practices. When it's real football, it's physical football, it's working technique. Again, the beauty of spring football is that you can really cut it loose on kids because you're not worried about getting ready for a game on Saturday or a game in 3 weeks. When you're in fall camp, like, you got to put the screws to the kids, but you also have to say, hey, we got to, if we're playing, like last year, we're playing Notre Dame week 1, like, you got to get ready to beat Notre Dame. You can't, just absolutely murder the kids where, like with, I talked to Jim Tressel about this, and he's like, when we had, a big time first game, like, he would taper back a little bit, but when we're playing, Youngstown State or somebody to open the season, like he's putting the screws just all the way past the first couple of weeks of the season, just because, like a team like Youngstown State or a MAC school, like they're not going to get us ready for Texas or whatever. Like, in 05, we opened with Miami of Ohio and then we played Texas week 2. And it was like, we ran camp all the way through Miami of Ohio to get ready for Texas. And, I just think that it's really interesting, the dissension that comes with spring football in Ohio. And again, I think that it hurts linemen. It hurts linemen. Skill guys can still get their throws in. Receivers can still get their work in. But when you're dealing with skill guys, it really makes it tough. You're dealing with the big guys, it's hard to get real good work in without pads on. Because, if you're just in jerseys and helmets, you can't really replicate what you're doing. And it's the same in the NFL. We do OTAs all summer in the NFL, and it's not the same once the pads go on. You can get bull rush. You can, you got to put your hands on people. You got to move people physically. So it's a way different deal. But Nevada, the Elite 11 is going on. You've covered that just because literally it's right in your backyard, 5 minutes away from your house. Talk to me a little bit about the Elite 11. You saw Ohio State legend Quinn Ewers, who was with Ohio State for, I think, one snap of his career. He's now at Texas, obviously. You saw him out there. What is the Elite 11 like? What do you glean from it? How valuable is it? Is it overrated? But what are your thoughts on it? Because I've never covered it, but you've actually covered it before.
Yeah, I've been there multiple times, and look, I think the easy answer is to go, oh, it's overrated. It's just shorts and throwing and stuff like that. But I mean, not that I'm some Joe expert, but when you see the kids going through the exact same drills, over and over and over and again, you can pick up some things. You can pick up about some things about arm strength. You can pick up some things about accuracy. You can watch how the kids interact with other kids. And then the Elite Love is not just the skills thing, but they go and have a 7-on-7 tournament as well. So it's a good chance to watch them, throwing against coverage, looking at their chemistry with wide receivers. So I'll actually get a lot out of it, and I'm really excited to have it back in Manhattan Beach. I'm definitely Manhattan Beach proud. So shout out to Manhattan Beach. Very, very glad to have the Elite 11/19 back here, and can't wait to see them get at it tomorrow.
I got Aaron Nolan on his film on right now, and I always say that you never know how these guys are going to shake out. A year before I got to Ohio State, Justin Zwick and Troy Smith both went to the Elite 11, both were committed to Ohio State. And, and that was kind of Troy's coming out party because Troy really did well at that competition. He played with Vince Young was out there and Zwick and Troy. It was like him. It was like Troy and Vince Young in the strongest arm competition. Some of the things that were going on, and again, we saw how that worked out. So I don't know. I think like some of these guys really have their come ups when you have like CJ Stroud really showed out of the Elite 11. Again, I think that these things are, like you said, when everything's side by side and it's a controlled setting, it's really interesting to see how competitive these kids are, how much these kids go in a shell. Some kids avoid it. Like Arch Manning completely avoided all camps, Elite 11, avoided everything. And, I think that he's, good. I don't know how good he is, because again, when you're in a controlled setting and you never actually compete, it's a whole different world. But yeah, like I'm excited to see how Air does. Honestly, I think he's a great kid. Like I said, he's a strapped up dude. Again, here we see him running the read option, which again it makes my heart flutter because I think it's such a devastating weapon when you've got a guy that can pull the ball and run, and he's built physically to do that. Obviously, you don't want to run the quarterback all the time, but if you're on a read option and he gets to close to contact and he can slide, man, it's a whole game changer. But do you have any predictions, Nevada, for Elite 11? Because I'll predict that I'll just go out there and go crazy. Aaron Nolan's going to win the Elite 11. That might be completely insane. Again, obviously with Dylan Raiola being the heavy favorite, but I think Air's trajectory is great. I'm just trying to wish it into existence. But do you have any predictions for the Elite 11?
Wow, you stole my prediction. I was going to say Air's going to win the whole thing, and we'll see. Like all the guys that I've been talking to that I've seen him just have been talking about how he's been improving in leaps and bounds. Obviously, we won't get a chance to see his legs on display. Maybe a little bit in the 7-on-7, but that's one of the underrated big attributes that he has bringing to the thing. But his accuracy's improved. His arm strength will take a second to nobody's there because he can gun it. And I just can't wait to see how accurate he is compared to these other guys. So now I'm gonna gravy train on your thing. I'm gonna be like Earl Woods to your Tiger and say that Aaron Nolan's gonna win the Elite 11 and I'm gonna say he's gonna be the surprise to a lot of people, but not a surprise to people here on this podcast because how high we've been on him since day one. So I can't wait to see him in person.
Well, here's the thing: is me and you people can call us homers, Buckeye homers, whatever. But Ryan Day offered the kid, Corey Dennis. But Ryan Day is the quarterback guru of quarterback gurus. Like the two best quarterback gurus of the country are Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley. That's it. And then there's a huge gap between whoever else there is. But Ryan Day won on the kid. I mean, you could have any quarterback in the country. He won on Aaron Nolan. So again, you could say, oh, Kirk and Nevada, big homers, big Ohio State homers, but Ryan Day really likes the kid, and Ryan Day is the guy that his job depends upon getting the right quarterback. So again, people.
Let me talk about. Okay, first of all, the homer tag. Yeah, I've heard that before too, and I've heard other people saying, and like, look, I'm just telling you the facts. Ohio State, when Ohio State's going to be bad, if there's a season that's coming up where Ohio State's going to be bad, I will be the first one to tell you guys it's been bad. When's the last time we've been bad? It's like, oh, Nevada, you keep saying we're going to be good this year. Yeah, we're pretty good every year. This year we're going to send out just a ton of guys to the NFL. The guys that are coming in are every bit as good, if not better. The skill positions are just ridiculous in the team. The defense is going to be elite. Recruiting's hitting on all cylinders. NIL's gotten much better. Hey, if that's being a homer, then just call me a homer because Ohio State football's won more games the past 25 years than I think anybody. So, it's not being a homer if you're saying it's true. I mean, if every year I'm going, we're going to be really good, and we go 6-7, then I'm a homer. But when we're one play away from the national championship, that's not being a homer. That's just knowing your business, man. Ohio State football is elite and getting more elite, getting eliter.
Yeah, and I agree because even I lived the 6 and 7. I was on the staff in 6 and 7. I sit in that staff room with Luke Fickle after all 7 losses. I mean, well, really 6 because we didn't meet after the 7th loss. We just all went home and half the staff was fired and cleaned their desk out. But like even that year, outside of that Miami Hurricanes game, we were in every game, and we had terrible quarterback play between Joe Bauserman and freshman Braxton Miller. Our best players were all suspended. Mike Adams, DeVere Posey was out 8 games. DeVere was one of the top receivers in the entire country, and he missed the first 8 games. Like, should have beat Michigan. DeVere wide open, streaking down the sideline. Braxton overthrows him. We just stunk. Anytime we needed to make a play, we couldn't do it because we were always discombobulated. We had guys that were in and out of the lineup. I mean, that year was the absolute big. Head coach gets fired on Memorial Day. Luke's the interim. I mean, it was an absolute monstrosity of a year, but we still were pretty. I mean, we still literally beat Wisconsin. It was the best team in the Big Ten that year. Won the Big Ten. We should have beat Purdue. We should have beat Michigan. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But we were in all these games. So and then every year after that, we've had stability. We had Urban. We had Tress. We had Ryan Day. We have better players than everybody we play. We're favored. I mean, in the last 25 years, how many games have we been underdogs in? Like 10 in 25 years? Like maybe the Bama game, Hurricanes game, absolutely. Michigan game this year. But, we're favored in every game we play. Maybe a couple of the Clemson games, but I don't know. I mean, if we're playing a Big Ten team, we're generally favored. And it's like 99% certainty. So, again, I get it. People say we're homers, but we study the things. We study analytics. We have a lot of people inside Vegas that do the numbers. And guess what? They like Ohio State a lot because Ohio State, not only do they win, they cover. So, again, Ohio State is good for business and business is good. But yeah, I like Aaron Nolan. I feel like his energy and trajectory. How surprised would you be if he won the Elite 11 this week?
Well, I'd be surprised, but not shocked by that. And again, he's a guy that's got the kind of the attributes that you like in that Elite 11 setting. The thing that's really unknown for us is how he does on the. People don't know it's not just all, throwing. There's a written component of it, and a knowledge of the game type of component on it. And I don't know how he's going to stack up the other guys in that, but hey, we're going to get it's going to be a good data point. Like I said, I think. The convenient thing to store, the popular thing to say is, Elite 11's, not that big of a deal. It's kind of like talking down In-N-Out Burger when people are like, In-N-Out Burger's not that great. I like this place better. But hey, you know what? Elite 11 means something. And In-N-Out Burger is super awesome. So all you haters from out there that don't like In-N-Out Burger, man, that's because you haven't tried it or you don't have it. So just stop with the In-N-Out Burger slander.
Yeah, it's like people that hate In-N-Out Burger, I'd be like, yeah, well, If you had the opportunity to buy an In-N-Out franchise and put it in your city you live in, what wouldn't you leverage to do that? I'm telling you, like if I could put one in Columbus, Ohio, there'd be a 6-hour-long line to get a cheeseburger, which is crazy because I see it when they popped up in Dallas and they're in Denver. Those things are absolute cash machines because it's a great product. It's simple. Pricing is good. The food's fantastic. People hate on it because they're just dumb. But, again, like that's one of the greatest franchises in the history of the United States. And what a model, what a great, that's a company that, they could go coast to coast. They could make billions. And instead they say, nope, we're going West Coast. We're going Dallas. We're going Denver. I don't know if they're going into Nashville. I think there's a rumor they're going into Nashville. But, it's just, hey, I can't hate on In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out's a lot like Ohio State. The people that hate on it, they're just mad because they don't have it. And they're not it. So, we got a Demarion Witten is a kid, a Glenville kid. Again, like there was a lot of funky stuff going on this weekend where he got crystal ball to Kentucky. I can't see a kid from Cleveland, Glenville going to Kentucky who has an Ohio State offer. Again, like why, not drive, if you could take a Rolls Royce or a Ford Taurus off the lot, why would you not drive the Rolls Royce off the lot? It's kind of like, Ohio State versus Kentucky is. Again, we've seen kids from Ohio go down to Kentucky that had Ohio State offers, and it never works out. They're never heard from again. They don't make it to the NFL. I'm sure they have fine lives and everything, but, when you're an Ohio kid and you go to Ohio State, it's just different. It adds a little bit of a little injection of something to you for the rest of your life when you're an Ohio State guy. Nevada, again, Ohio State was all over this kid at camp today. Do you think Demarion Witten ends up a Buckeye? Again, I think the crystal balls to Kentucky were just kind of fodder at this point. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I just taking what I'm getting from my Ohio State people, and they think they're getting him. So I forget the crystal ball stuff. They think they're that whatever type of momentum Kentucky had, that they've been able to stem the tide. They do want him. He is obviously at Glenville, and we don't have to explain the Glenville connection to Ohio State fans, but Ohio State feels like they're in a good position. They've kind of righted the ship. They feel like they're pushing the right buttons with them. So I would expect him to be a Buckeye. Um, I'm not buying the Kentucky stuff at all. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Maybe he's the one that kind of breaks the trend and goes and does that. But I don't think so. I'm going Buckeye.
Yeah, I agree. I can't see you not wanting to be a Buckeye if you've been if you got that offer, man, and you're from Ohio. It's like I tell the kids, like if you want to live in Kentucky for the rest of your life when you're done, go to Kentucky. If you want to live in Michigan the rest of your life, go to Ann Arbor, go to East Lansing, go to Penn State, wherever. But man, like if you want to live in Ohio, you get that Ohio State offer, come to Ohio State. And if you're from anywhere in the country and you have that Ohio State offer, come to Ohio State. Because no matter where you settle at, if you're in South Florida, which is like Buckeye heaven, Atlanta, Buckeye heaven, Carolinas, California, there's Ohio State people everywhere. And they travel like crazy and big alumni base. Well, we're going to wrap this. I'm excited about Elite 11. Aaron Nolan, good luck, my man, if you watch this. Appreciate you as always. Nevada, any closing thoughts? Camps are wrapping up. Joe Ram did a great job. Bill the Bank Green is back on the ground tomorrow after a doctor's appointment today. But what are your thoughts as we're almost halfway through summer, Nevada?
No, just excited. If anybody's out on the West Coast, anybody's out at Miracosta High School, stop by and say hello to Nevada Buck. I'll be the very handsome gentleman sitting up in the stands watching the guys throw the ball around. You guys know you'll find me. Like I'm the guy that's not look like some refugee or look like some big fat sweaty guy. I'm like the only healthy guy that'll be in the stands watching these people. So
he'll be flying his drone around on the field, trying to intercept passes. It'll be fantastic. I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, we're going to wrap this thing. Appreciate you guys as always. I hope you guys had a great day. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. As always, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. And also, if you enjoy this live content, hit that alert bell. If you enjoy this content, go to BuckeyeScoop.com. We have live camp updates minute by minute today. Joe Dram killed it. We have Joe and Bill Green on the deck tomorrow. They'll be all over the field getting that good content. It's about a 2.5 hour window of camp. They're really doing a fantastic job. The best coverage in the business, best inside information in the business. We're getting some more inside nuggets on what is going on, who is shining. Got a Brandon Ennis update you guys are going to be excited about. He's really doing fantastic. So go to BuckeyeScoop.com, number one site for Ohio State sports. It's where the biggest Buckeye fans come to play. We appreciate you guys as always. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please shout out where you guys are watching from. Appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Skip family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.